Welcome to the Employee Training Module for the Hazard Communication Standard. We will cover an introduction, chemical hazards, the written program, labeling, safety data sheets, and training. First of all, what is the Hazard Communication Standard? Well, the Hazard Communication Standard is known by three things: HCS, the right to know, the right to understand. In this presentation moving forward, we will refer to it as HazCom. HazCom is a comprehensive classification of potentially hazardous chemicals. HazCom requires employers to communicate information about hazardous chemicals in the workplace and how to protect employees from these hazards. There are 5 key elements you must understand about HazCom. The first is written program. A written program must be in place which describes the remaining 4 elements. Chemical inventory. Identify and create a list of the hazardous chemicals in your workplace. Label all containers. Hazardous chemicals must have labels that identify the chemical and warn of potential hazards. Safety data sheets. A safety data sheet must be available for every hazardous chemical. And finally, training. All employees must be trained to identify and work safely with hazardous chemicals. In the words of OSHA, HazCom ensures that the hazards of all chemicals produced or imported are evaluated and that information concerning their hazards is transmitted to employers and employees. In 1983, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration developed the Hazard Communication Standard, also known as 29 CFR 1910.1200. HazCom was based on the simple idea that employees have a right to know about the chemicals they might be working with and how to protect themselves. OSHA revised this Hazard Communication Standard by implementing another component. In 2012, they introduced the right to understand. This established standardization in the way information is transmitted to employees. Note this is an important concept, and there are 5 key HazCom changes that were involved in achieving the concept. The first is providing specific criteria for classification of health and physical hazards, as well as classifying mixtures. Number 2, revised labeling requirements that include the use of standardized signal words, pictograms, hazard statements, and precautionary statements. Number 3, SDSs have a standardized format containing 16 sections. Number 4, employer training must be completed by December 1st of 2013, including education on the revision of terms, pictograms, labels, and the 16-part safety data sheet. And number 5, a written plan at the workplace for outlining the implementation of the new HazCom. GHS, also known as Globally Harmonized System. In 2003, the United Nations implemented the Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals to have a global system for classifying and labeling the health, physical, and environmental hazards of chemicals. This includes the standardized elements on chemical labels, as well as a standardized 16-part safety data sheet, also known as an SDS. As the G implies, this system is a global or international approach to classifying and labeling chemicals. This standardized method of classifying and labeling chemicals has facilitated the implementation of HAZCOM 2012. Together, GHS and HCS will allow employees to have a clearer picture of chemical hazards in the workplace. There are distinct benefits to GHS and HCS. It greatly reduces confusion in the workplace. It provides employees quicker and more efficient access to information on safety data sheets. It prevents 500 workplace injuries and illnesses and 43 deaths annually. And it reduces international trade barriers. So you may ask, who is covered by HAZCOM? OSHA's HAZCOM covers employers and their employees exposed to chemical hazards. HAZCOM also applies to any chemical in the workplace to which employees could be exposed through normal conditions or foreseeable emergency. OSHA state plan states and territories. There are state plan states and territories operating their own OSHA. Plans in these states must be comparable to federal OSHA standards. OSHA state plans in these highlighted states and territories cover state and local government employees only. In the following highlighted states, all workers are covered. If you work in one of these states or territories, please check with your local OSHA office for additional information. As you complete this training, keep these important words in mind. HAZCOM, safety, standardized, labels, pictograms, 16-part, inventory, training.